Welcome to the Book of Balance podcast, where real stories meet real numbers. I'm your host, Patricia Oholeguy, your bookkeeper and believer that business should serve your life, not consume it. Each week, we sit down with entrepreneurs who've built their dreams from scratch and learned to balance their books, their boundaries, and their energy along the way. Ready to turn the page on financial stress and write your own story of clarity? Let's dive in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Patricia Oholeguy, and I am the host of the Book of Balance. And I'm extremely excited because today I have Yvonne that has a company called Naturals by Nezzy. So, welcome, Yvonne. I am excited. I've been following you for a while on social media, and I definitely enjoy all the content you post. I'm intrigued by how things get done. I do know that you have a she shed. Can you talk about it in all the videos? And I think it's the coolest thing. And I'll let you tell us all about it. And so, if you could give us a little brief description of who you are, how did you come to create this company? And I can't wait to hear all about who you are and how you created this company so we can encourage others to do the same.
Hey, so thank you, Patricia, for having me. I am Yvonne, the CEO and owner of Naturals by Nezzy Mavis Mo. But these hands just work to create extraordinary hair care and skincare products and how we all got started. So it wasn't even supposed to be a business. So let's start there. It kind of stumbled. How we got started in 2017, I went relaxer free. That means that we cut all the perm off our hair.
Mm.
So that means we went to this natural thing. Of course, natural hair is a totally different beast. So, in the process of having this natural hair, of course, you have to figure out products that will work for it. And when I said I was a product junkie, I was buying all this different stuff to see if it's going to work, and nothing really worked, at least not to the point that I wanted it to.
Mhm.
So, you know what? I was watching YouTube one day, and this lady was making some shea butter to do a twist out on her hair. That's what I
Mhm.
do now, twist out. And she made that butter and she twisted her hair. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try that. And at this point, my girls, I have two girls, they're already relaxer free. And I said, I think I've seen some shea butter under my cabinet. I said, I'll just mix me up some shea butter. So I had a bowl and a mixer. That's all I had. And I mixed up some shea butter with some other oils I had. Just do something together, what I had at home. And I did a twist out. And that was the best out of all these products I've bought. That was the best twist out. So I got excited. I'm like, yay. So I had a lot of friends that were relaxer free. So I'm like, man, I tried this butter that I made and it gave me a really good twist out. So I started sharing it. And I'm like, it's good for your skin too. So I started sharing with a lot of different people. And then it came like, man, you need to sell this. I'm like, no, I am not a sales lady at all. And I don't want to be mean, but I'm like, I don't even like people. I don't like people. I'm meant to be chasing. You got to kind of be kind of personable. I'm like, I don't like people. We have to chase people down. They was like, no, you can. So anyway, I started on a very, very small scale, just with a few little friends. I didn't have, I knew nothing about business. I didn't know how to make a label. I didn't know anything. But I was grateful because my daughter had a friend that made me a label, that created a logo for me. And that's how we got started. So for the first couple of years, I just had a label, it had a little hand on it. At this point, I didn't know how to put the content on there yet. So I just had a little hand. But at this point, I was just like little friends and family, that kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
So fast forward, once that happened, I was like, you know what? I I don't want to do a business, but you can't. If once you start selling something, you got to have some kind of system in place. So 6 months after I started, I would say peddling
Mhm.
website. But now at this point, you're not really making any money and it costs.
Right.
Like, so now it was like, you know what? That's where having my 9 to 5 came in. Sometimes your 9 to 5 have to fund the business that you're.
Yes, yes.
So for a long time, I had to kind of use some of my personal money to fund the business. And then it kind of started doing a little something, not nothing major, but enough to kind of keep itself going. I would make some money. and then I'll go to the store. And at this point, when you first starting out, you don't have these big supplies. You're going, you're getting a small
Right. So
this.
you were breaking even basically.
Pretty much
Okay.
breaking even. And for the longest, there was no profit. It was pretty much breaking even. And when you first get started, you're not going to this major supply getting gallons and gallons. You're
Right, right. So you're paying higher prices for the quantity you're purchasing.
absolute. So all the raw materials are costing me more because I'm only buying.
Smaller quantities.
And at that point, I didn't understand my worth, nor did I understand my value. Even though I was starting out, I had it was like flea market prices. And after over a period of time, I'm like, girl, you are working for free and you're gonna work yourself out of business. So I had to have what I call the come to Jesus meeting with myself. Look, if you're going to do this, you're going to have to sit down and really crunch some numbers and see where you are. Know what your profit margin is. You just can't continue to spin around this circle. And at that point, I didn't have a she shed. I just got the she shed 3 years ago. But so at that point, I just had like just no overhead whatsoever other than buying the raw materials and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So once I got the she shed, I said, you know what? There is no way I can sustain doing anything with these prices that I had. When I tell you they were dirt cheap, they were dirt cheap. And part of that was not knowing what your value was. You just say, well, if I charge too much, they're not going to buy it. And see, my mindset has shifted so much since then because my thing is I have a certain kind of customer. Everybody is not my customer.
Correct.
I totally understand that.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to work for people who don't see the value in what I.
Correct. 100%.
This is the thing I tell people all the time. If you are a reseller, say for instance, this is my product. If you are a reseller and you're just buying it from somewhere else and you're slapping your label on it, well, you haven't done any work. Only thing you're doing is you're taking somebody else's product and you're slapping your label on it. I am doing this stuff one woman show from start to finish. And once I realized the value that I was bringing to the table and how much work it took, I had to treat myself as such. Now, did I lose some folks along the way? I did. And I'm okay with that because anybody that doesn't see the value of what it is that I do, they're not my true customer. And I am so okay with that. So with that being said, I kind of had a price increase and most of my people stayed with me and some of them left. And this is the biggest thing though. I feel like this at the end of the day, everyone is going to spend money on that thing that they want. And I always
Correct.
equate it to how much money you go and sit in that restaurant and you will drop $100 easy. And what happens a couple of hours or a couple of days later is gone. So if you can't afford to invest in something that's going to help you take care of your skin, well, then I'm not going to argue the point. I'm not going to try to make you see the value. It's something you have to see on your own. I mean, I tell you the benefits, and it's not like I am pretty transparent. Y'all see me run the she shed. Y'all see me
Mhm.
all the time. So it's not, so y'all know what goes on behind the scenes. It's not like I just show up with some finished product.
Secretive thing. Yeah.
It's not at all. Y'all see the process and this kind of thing. So I'm like, no, at that point, I had to really say to myself, even though I may lose a few people or some people along the way, I had to be okay with that because I was no longer going to just spin in circles just to for what. So
Right. And
and
most likely, when you increase your prices, you lost a few, but the increase in the prices probably made for the difference and more for those few that walked away. So that is something that, I am in love with everything you're saying because if we had more people that understood what you're saying right now, they could really have their business take off. Because, yes, the biggest mistake we all make is trying to be vanilla for everyone. We don't have to be vanilla. No one cares for vanilla, even though it's been around for 100 years. But you're not going to stand out in a vanilla world, right? You need to be different so people will remember you and come to you for that specific need. So you have a specific niche, you have a specific clientele that you're targeting. If they relate and if it resonates, they'll come to you over and over again. So instead of coming from the mindset of scarcity and I have to fit everyone's needs, you're coming from a space of abundance. And therefore, you're like, if it's for you, I'm here. And if not, it's cool. And people don't realize how that energy attracts even more clients your way. So kudos to you. I'm absolutely loving this. So go ahead and continue telling us what was the next thing that happened in your history of the company.
So the biggest thing, I think my biggest fear was getting this she shed. Getting this she shed because at that point money was flowing pretty good because this is the one thing I do want to share. I started in 2018 and things were, hit and miss a little bit here and there. But and at that point I had those real low prices. And it was doing a little something. But I often say this, and I just grieve for anybody who lost family members during COVID. But that is when this business picked up during COVID. Before COVID, I was doing a DBA, didn't have an LLC yet. I'm like, oh, I don't know how this thing is gonna go. So I'm not gonna do all that. I'm just gonna do a little DBA at the bank and have these little coins going back and forth. Wasn't a whole lot of money going back and forth. I got my LLC in 2020. That is when things just really began to pick up. I said during a pandemic, I guess people have anything else to do.
Right. We were all in the house looking at social media. We're looking at you going to the amazing she shed. So
I was like, at that point, it was like, whoo, that's when things picked up. During a pandemic is when my business truly started, I would say, making some money. That is when it finally, because at one point I was like, I was doing what I loved, but it wasn't any real money involved. So what happened was I guess you would say the first little she shed, well, not first little pop-up spot, I would say I had was at my in-laws. They had a little garage. And I used a corner of their garage and kind of fixed it up. And that was my little pop-up spot. And the first one I had was November of 2020 because I had a big event that I had planned during COVID. It was a let these hands work for you event. Folks was going to come in, explain what the product has been doing for them. I was going to have all this trying these stations, all this kind of stuff. Well, guess what? COVID happened and nobody couldn't go nowhere. You couldn't gather. So that kind of got kicked to the corner. So, but later on that year, which was November of 2020, that's when I had my very first pop up shop. But the space down there, this was the kicker. It didn't have a bathroom and it didn't have running water. And my whole thing was I wanted to be able for people to try products
right.
and this kind of thing. Well, you can't try product. You can get the butter on your skin, but you can't get the lather of the soap. You can't get the feel of the scrub. You can't wash your face. You can't do any of these things because I didn't have water at the time. So I stayed in there. That was November of 2020 is when I had the very first pop up. And in March of 2022, that's when I said to myself, and I'm being raw and I'm being honest with you. I said to my husband, I said, I want to get a she shed. He was so against it. He was like, no, you got a free spot that you can use up there. Why would you want to have to go and get another building? I'm like, because for one thing, that's not mine. And I need a space that can have a bathroom and have running water. So that was the first obstacle. We get my she shed is at first, my husband couldn't see what you need a she shed for when you could just continue to use this.
Right.
And sometimes that's the one thing that people don't understand. Maybe they do it, but they don't. Sometimes it be your closest person that is a obstacle for you
Yes. and
because
and and comes from a good place, but yes,
yeah,
is their own fears coming through and they're worried and they care,
Right.
And so therefore, from a loving place, sometimes they let their fears come through instead of, and it's very, very common. And that's a very good point that you bring up. And I think it's a good moment to pause for a second and share with the audience that when you're running a business, most likely those who are going to encourage you the most are going to be those from the outside. And we always talk, even when you start doing your social media, like your social media, your friends and family are not going to necessarily be the ones that are going to buy your products or do anything or get your services or anything like that. It's people from the outside that are going to see your value, that are going to believe in you and stand behind you. And again, it comes from a place of love. And if they don't have that entrepreneurial heart in them, their fear is gonna come through. I went through something similar with my ex-husband. He was really responsible, but sometimes he worried too much.
Well, that was the biggest thing. I think his biggest thing was you you want to spend all this money, and then his biggest thing was, you spend all this money and people might not, and then what you gonna do? And I was like, that is the point that I was like, one thing, if you believe in you and you believe in your vision, you have just got to run with it. Because his thought was, a lot of times people will support you until you do something major. When you do something major, then they may hold back because they feel like, oh, I'm taking care of her, whatever. And I'm like, well, you may feel that way, but I have to go on my belief. I have to go on my dream and something that I want. And I want something where customers can actually come in and try the products, whatever they want to do. Rather they want to wash their face, get do the facial at the sink, what have you. They can do all these things. If they need to use the restroom, they can do that. And I have a space large enough where I make my products in the back, and then
Mhm.
I am now is where people pretty much come in once a month for the pop up, and that was just something that once I got going, this is what I wanted to do. But you hit the nail on the head so far as that was one of the hardest things for me when I got started is the people who you thought was going to be your biggest supporters, they're not. Your family, your closest family, your friends, those, and I when I tell you that hit me like a ton of bricks because I just was so excited thinking that they were going to be excited. But I tell you one thing, when you have a outside group of folks that they push you and they believe in you and they support you, I have some folks, I don't care if I make a bubble gum, they will buy one. That is how
Yes.
they believe
Yes.
and support me. So I have a handful of those, I mean, that has been rocking with me from day one. They have seen where I started versus where I am now. And it's just such a blessing. So anytime I get an opportunity to talk to anybody that's thinking about doing this, I said, let me just tell you one thing up front. So you don't have to have the heartache that I had. Your family, your immediate family, and your closest friends, those are not going to be the folks that push you. Those are not going to be your biggest cheerleaders. They're not going to be your biggest supporters. And for the life of me, why that is, I don't know, but it just is. And I hear a lot of people that kind of experience the same thing. They're like, no, it's just that even you said on social media, you will have, that's why, like on my business page, most of the folks on there, I don't know them. I just met them on social media.
Yeah, that's
They
how we met.
they
Exactly.
they will engage, they will, share something from time to time, but you're people who, and the funniest thing, most of them, when they see you out in the street, they'll tell you what they saw. So, I mean, it seems to amaze me, but that's pretty much how it goes. But I was like, you know what? I often say now, focus on who does and don't worry about who don't. And that's my motto.
There's an expression. I went to another workshop for real estate investors, and the expression was in Spanish. So I'll try to translate it, but basically, say it goes, they don't want you to have it, or they don't want you to work towards it, but they're not going to do anything to try to work to get it themselves. So it's almost like it's not exactly that way, but when you translate things, they kind of get lost in translation. But that's exactly it. Unfortunately, not everyone is ready to be happy for you. And you have to be ready to accept that. And speaking more for, acquaintances or friends that we may have had for a while that they know us through social media, all of a sudden you come up with this great thing that could really change your life. And they may not be able to follow it because it's out of their comfort zone. They don't understand what you're doing.
Here.
And therefore they struggle with that. And I think when it comes to our partners, is it takes a special soul to be willing to take risks, and that is not for everyone. But the entrepreneurial spirit, it's a free spirit that is going to be always be willing to take that risk. We sometimes find that our closest people accidentally become the ones who be, they really become our biggest barrier sometimes because they don't have the ability to encourage us. And what we're saying is the entrepreneurial spirit. That's what we were talking about. We were talking about it's not for everyone. And I think we need all kinds of people in this world. We need people like you and I that are willing to risk everything and trying to get things done. And we need people who are not risk takers because if you grow enough, you're going to need people to work in your company. So we need all kinds of people in the world. And they all have a very special place in this planet for this world to go around. But one thing I love about entrepreneurial life and spirit is how we lose the fear of losing it all. Because once you learn that you can build a company from the ground up, of course you don't want to lose it and you want to start again. But at
Mhm.
least you know, well, said, I can do it again. If I did it once, I can do it again. And that is such an amazing, resilient side of us that I think it's so helpful for us to be able to move forward. Like I've had a few bumps in my life, and I had to change careers and how to do what was best for my family, not necessarily what was best for my business. And I had to start from scratch all over again because that's what my son needed at that moment. I needed to walk away and focus on him. And yes, it wasn't easy, but at least I knew, I've done it before. I can do it again. And yeah, you have to get through the grind. You have to go to the hard work. Again, another 2 years before you break even. And all these things have to happen because it is a pattern, it is a flow. But you realize, you know what? I can do it. You lose that fear of what if things go wrong? So what? You can do it again, right?
That
And
that
so there's something incredible about that you lose that fear about living life and risking, and it really breaks you free. So for those who are out there who are thinking of making that risk, be aware, yes, it's not for everyone, but if you have it in you and you're a risk taker and you want to be able to live that carefree life, entrepreneurial life might be the right thing for you. And yes, we need all kinds of people. And sometimes our partners struggle to see the light and then they become our biggest fans, right? Once they see that we actually made it.
oh, it's oh, okay. Yeah. And that is you're absolutely right. Once you get beyond, because once he got beyond the, oh my gosh, what if? And that's why I told him, I said, one thing about it is I will keep my day job. For me, at this now, probably if I was much younger,
Hmm.
I probably would have said, you know what, I am just going to oof. But being the age that I am now, XYZ amount of years from retirement, I wasn't willing to say, I'm just going to quit my job altogether and do this, because that's a whole nother push that you have got to be willing to make. And that would mean that, okay, now you really have to be aggressive and figure out every which way how you're going to make some money for this business. Now, my biggest thing is I want to be able to take care of itself. And of course, you want to make XYZ amount of dollars. Of course, we all want that. Currently, the climate right now is really tough out there because people are pretty much buying what they have to have.
Right.
And certain things are kind of like it's not a necessity. Of course, I have those that Nezzy is a part of their budget.
Right.
I'm happy for those. But then I have the other ones that kind of, got to choose between this or that. But I often say, at the end of the day, there are people out there with lucrative cash. And those are the people that I'm going to continue to work and show up and show up and show up. It doesn't matter what the climate is, you'll be able to purchase and all will be well. So that is kind of where we are now, is that it's just we're really in a tough time so far as the way how the world is going. We're in a tough time.
Yes.
Everybody's kind of like, oh, kind of skittish about spending money just in general. But I
Right.
just feel like at the end of the day, I don't care what it is. I don't care how much money people don't have. They will spend money on that one thing that they want. And that's just
It's all about priorities, 100%.
right. And even though well, I don't have no money, it's that one thing because people don't have money all the time. What do they do? They're at the restaurant eating. So I mean, it all is priority. All depends on where you want to spend that money that you really don't have at. So that's why I said I will continue to show up and show up and show up because at the end of the day, my target, I have a nice group of people, but I need more. And my target audience, they're out there somewhere. And I'm going to continue to show up because one thing about it, the price is the price. I'm not going to lower the price to try to get some other audience. That's not going to happen.
Right.
So the price is the price. Those who are willing to pay the price, we're here. And those
Right.
who can't, it's okay. We
Right.
okay with that.
So you mentioned that you have your she shed in which you have monthly events, correct? So where are you located for those who are listening who might be curious and might be like, "Ooh, am I close to where she's at? Can I go?" So where is this she shed located at?
Okay, so we are in St. Stephen, South Carolina.
Nice.
Yeah, St. Stephen, South Carolina, is where we are, probably about 45 minutes away from, I guess, the major city of Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes away from there. So that's where we are, and we do a monthly pop because the thing of it is, it's not a store.
Right.
It's just a place that I store all of my
Mm-hmm.
products. Initially, I had, and I still do have a room at home that got stuff in it. But everywhere you look, it was a box, it was jars, it was stuff everywhere. So the funny thing was when I got the she shed and I still had stuff at home, my husband said, I thought when you got the she shed, all this stuff was gonna be gone. I said, no. I said, because if I bring all that over here, I have with that junkie. I said, no, I'll keep this room over here to store some stuff. I said, but I need my space to be, when people walk in, we
Welcoming, yes.
store it. So, but yeah, so that was the my biggest leap of faith though, is when I did the she shed. And the biggest thing for me is right now, once I get done working, I would love to maybe have like intimate those soap making classes, just different little things that, a small group of people. Right now, I just don't want to wrap my mind around anything else. But once I retire, there's different things I want to do in the she shed, not just do monthly pop-ups, do other things as well, rather it be soap making, rather we have a butter love making class, rather we make some oils, whatever.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
be able to come in and do. So I'm excited about the next and the biggest thing is people say, well, what are you gonna do or what are you doing things are slow? I said, what you doing things are slow is you
There's never a slow moment, but
right. You just, I mean, what do you do? I mean, you keep showing up, you keep showing up, you keep showing up. And then sometimes people tend to ask you, when are you going to, go full time? And this is the thing I believe, and everybody got their own idea of how it works. Until I would call this my 5 to 9,
mhm,
on your 9 to 5, 24/7, you need to keep working. And
right.
some people, they jump out there prematurely because something you got to think about too. If you're not working on a job where you're getting medical benefits,
Correct.
now that means when you do your entrepreneurship, you have to factor that in because everyone needs medical insurance.
That's
So
true.
you have to know, okay, I'm gonna have to pay this, that, and the third. So it is a big cost that comes with just doing it full time. And if you're not ready to take that leap, or you have to count the cost, don't just jump out there.
Right.
And
You need to add it up. Like,
right,
are you making enough to sustain yourself?
right.
And there's something that they talk about, and maybe we should briefly mention it for those who might be listening. They might find it a great nugget. Whenever you're working for a full time company, they tell you to have at least 3 months of your salary saved for an emergency. But
Mhm.
when you own your own business, it is recommended, and this is Dave Ramsey's recommendations, he suggests for you to have 6 months worth of your monthly income because you have to account for fluctuation in business. There's slow times, there's ups and downs. So, yes, you're right. If you're going to quit your job, it is something that financial experts recommend is for you, instead of having 3 months of salary saved, to save 6 months of what you usually would earn. That way, you have a cushion for when you have downtimes. Because right now, like you said, people are hesitant and they might be kind of just buying enough. They might not be buying, if you have a special with 3 for 1, they just might buy the one instead of the 3 for 1. Or so you
Mhm.
have to be ready for those ups and downs. But that's part of business, I think, and that's important to share with people.
And
Um,
is people need to understand if you run a business that require any kind of machinery, your machine might broke. It has to be fixed. Earlier this year, my AC unit was acting up. $1,200 later, we got. I mean, but I'm just saying these are things that you have to factor in because things are going to happen, and when
right,
they happen, you have to have money from somewhere.
right,
So that's another thing too. And I think that people need to understand just don't jump out there without a plan because sure as you do anything, there are going to be some hiccups. And if you're not prepared at all for even the smallest hiccup before you get going good, you'll be not going because you didn't count the costs.
correct. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I want to, we're getting close to the end of our time together, and I want to, if there's any nuggets that you want to share with us. So, but if you could share with us a little bit of where we can find you, um, any other information, and again, any other last minute tips that you want to give people.
Okay, so I guess where you can find me at the website is www.naturalsbynezzy.com. Of course, we are on Facebook at Naturals by Nezzy and Instagram as well. I'm not over there too much. I'm on TikTok too, but yeah. But those are the main things. If you just type in Naturals by Nezzy, I'll pop up everywhere.
Excellent. And so for our listeners, so they know, at the end of the notes for either on either platform that you find us, I'll have a link so people can actually download a little sheet with all your information and where they can find you. So if people are driving, you don't have to stress about, just download that form and you'll have all the information. That way you can reach out to Yvonne and have access to all the great products you have. So any last minute tips that you have maybe for products, since you're working with beauty products and with beauty material, is there anything that we should be thinking about that maybe we haven't thought of because we're just so used to the mainstream products that we see in the market?
Okay, just know that any soap that you're purchasing from a mainstream big box company is just filled with a bunch of stuff that is not good for our skin. So, of course, when you're comparing handmade with oils and butters versus big box stuff, that's just a bunch of synthetic something just to get you out the door. I just made a post today that smelling good means nothing if your skin is not clean. Our goal should always be to have clean skin, but sometimes we just bypass the cleanliness and we just want the smell
Smell good.
right. So our goal is clean skin. Yes, we want to smell good too, but that's why you wear your perfume and all this other stuff that you buy. But of course, I often say radiant skin is in, but it can't be radiant. It can't be all it needs it to be if you're not taking care of it. Women who wear makeup, you have got to take care of your face. You can't just wear makeup and just wipe your face off with water and think you're going to maintain healthy skin. So I'll often say too, it's very important to take care of the skin that we're in because guess what? Our skin covers all of our body. And guess
Yes.
You're never able to leave our skin. Our skin is with us everywhere we go. It goes with us. So it is important to be intentional about taking care of your skin. And for anybody that has skin on their body or hair on their head, these hands work for them. We do not discriminate. These hands are working for everybody. So everybody bathes, at least they
Yes, yes, they should,
yeah.
which is
And
a
every
whole different subject, girl.
we do not discriminate. We are here. These hands are working for everyone. And so far as any new person that's even thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, just be sure to count the cost. Count the cost, number one. Know your worth. Do not go in at a very low price trying to appease anybody. You got to figure out first who are you trying to target, what kind of people you're trying to service. And once you do that, you will go in with whatever that price is going to be. However, you can't go in with the big price and don't have a good product. The
Correct.
product got to meet the price. So just be intentional, count the cost. That's the biggest thing because sometimes you just kind of jump out there and start doing something and quickly realize, ooh, this
Yeah,
is not
that's in my world we call it what cost of goods sales, right? What is that going to cost? So, thank you, Yvonne, for all your tips. I could talk to you for hours. I'm a chatterbox already, so I can see that if we were together, we would have so much fun together because I like all this stuff and I like building things, and I can see you have a great spirit. Um, I wish you the best. I can't wait to see you. We probably will get to do another podcast soon and see how your company has grown, and what other projects you add onto your she shed. Everybody, you have the information to be able to reach to her and to go to her website. Again, we'll have a handout that you can download. That way, you'll have all the information readily available. And thank you, Yvonne. A pleasure meeting you. I am so excited I got to talk to you in person. And
safe.
until next one, thank everyone for listening to our show, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right, bye.
Thank you for joining me for today's episode of the Book of Balance podcast. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and found value in the insights we shared. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss a future episode. And as promised during the show, you'll also find a link in the description with today's guest information, website links, and all the mentions we talked about during the episode. And if you're a do-it-yourself entrepreneur, you can join the Clarity Compass method at claritycompassllc.com. It's a monthly subscription where business owners like you dedicate just 1 hour each week to work in their books, get their questions answered, and stay consistent with their support of a community committed to financial clarity. Now, if you'd like to connect with me personally, head on to my website, oholeguy.com, to schedule your complimentary 15-minute consultation. It's the perfect way to get your personalized bookkeeping questions answered and explore how the white glove services can support your business. And on the last note, remember, we are not lawyers or financial advisors. Everything shared here reflects our professional opinions and is provided solely for educational purposes and entertainment purposes only. So thanks again for listening, and until next time, keep your compass set on clarity.